Godzilla, Mothra, Kong, Rodan, Ghidorah. The Monsterverse is in full swing, and Godzilla is more popular than he's ever been. Talks of where the series will go from here are rampant. We can probably expect Mechagodzilla to appear at some point. The director's gone on record that he would love to include Biollante, and in the King of the Monsters art book, we can clearly see that Gigan was at least considered to join the fray already. But if you check out this other page of the art book, we can see, Now that looks awfully familiar, doesn't it? But I can't really quite place it. If you're new to the world of monsters, you might be wondering who this Gamera is that people keep talking about. You see comments claiming a fight between Godzilla and Gamera would be legendary, but who is Gamera? I don't blame anyone who hasn't heard of him. Gamera has always kind of been a unique case in the realm of Kaiju, mostly since he's a monster not owned by Toho, the studio behind Godzilla, instead by Studio Dai. So Gamera's always been flying to the beat of his own drum, never once appearing alongside any other famous kaiju, but if the Monsterverse can bring Gamera into their world, that would truly be a sight to see. I felt the urge to make a quick history video for Gamera, go over his movies one by one, and give you a feel for what he's all about. First of all, just what is Gamera anyway? Well, he's a giant turtle monster with big fangs, shoots fireballs, and has a jet-powered shell that allows him to fly through the air like a frisbee. Yeah, one thing you'll notice right away is that Gamera is a little bit goofy. The Big G has had silly movies before, but Gamera is all about the cheese. He's the friend of all children, with most of his films being aimed towards a younger demographic. And his opponents are absolutely ridiculous. You'll see what I mean as we go along. While Godzilla is sitting at a monstrous 36 movies to his name, Gamera is no slouch either, sitting at 12. If we use the same terms to categorize his films, Gamera started off with 8 movies in the Showa era from 1965 all the way to 1980. Then, in the late 90s, the Heisei oh no, here we go again. The Heisei Gamera trilogy arrived, taking over the kaiju world after Godzilla seemingly died in Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. Finally, in 2006, a single Millennium movie appeared called Gamera the Brave, and that's the last we've seen of him. There was another movie planned for 2016, a full proof of concept trailer was shown off at New York Comic Con, but that seems to be a project that will never see the light of day, sadly. It seems Gamera has always lived in the shadow of Godzilla, and admittedly, I can see why. Dai had far more financial struggles than Toho did, so Gamera movies tend to feel cheaper and a little less serious than Godzilla's usual standard. It's almost like it's been a one-way rivalry. Gamera has always had to compete with Godzilla. Meanwhile, Gamera was never even on Godzilla's radar. The 90s trilogy might be an exception, but it's clear Gamera was always playing second fiddle, which is a shame. He's got a lot going on to make him unique. It's definitely long overdue that these two monsters settle their differences on the big screen, but for now, we can only remain hopeful. That's about all the general history I can think of, so let's quickly shoot through each of Gamera's films so you can get an idea for what they're like, and maybe it'll help you decide where to start if you feel like checking them out. Gamera, the Giant Monster, 1965, has Gamera showing up within the first 5 minutes. But it also doesn't take too long to realize the kind of movie you're watching. Some abysmal American actors and effects that don't quite hold up tell you that, hey, this ain't Toho. But that's alright, there's still a lot of fun to be had. Gamera himself is a delight every time he's on screen. I like how the entire world is aware of him. He sort of seems to be like a celebrity. There's also this kid who has an unreasonable attachment to turtles. And given this is long before Gamera became a friend to all children, you can't help but look at him and go, kid, get a hobby, go meet some friends, just anything, just get away from the turtles. The movie's cheap, silly, kinda bad, but you know what you were signing up for, right? It's got a lot of heart, and how can you not love a face like that? I don't have much to say on Gamera vs. Barugon, 1966. It's the first movie in color and the first time Gamera fights another monster, so that's all good stuff. Barugon looks like a big old doof. He shoots rainbows out of his back and freezes things with his tongue, which is all just fantastic. This movie has a much different vibe to it though. The first half almost feels like a King Kong movie trekking through Skull Island as they accidentally awaken Barugon. This one functions much better as a movie, and it isn't as cheesy as one would expect given how ridiculous Barugon is. Gamera isn't actually in this as much as he was in the first. Whether all that makes this one of the best movies or one of the worst depends on your taste. Gamera vs. Gyaos 1967 introduces Gyaos, a bat-like creature who drinks blood, shoots precision laser beams, and will later become known as an arch-enemy to Gamera, though that's mostly because he's the only recurring monster in the series. The B-movie cheese in this one is delightful. The human characters are very comedic in both an intentional and not so intentional way. There's this side plot about trying to buy some land. Both the corporations and the homeowners absolutely refuse to budge, despite the fact that there's a giant monster flying around. The monster action here is pretty good. The suits seem to be holding back the actors from time to time, but since these monsters shoot projectiles, they can pretty much fly around and fire away at each other no problem. Good stuff, but we're only getting started. Gamera VS Viras 1968 doesn't mess around. The first shot of the movie, and we got aliens, everybody! That alone completely changes the atmosphere of this movie. We spent a lot of time in space, or on a spaceship with amazingly corny set design. This movie is just maximum Gamera. It has everything. It's comedic in its tone, you got kids running around having fun, you got aliens who transform into an absolutely ridiculous looking monster, you got stock footage from the previous movies, definitely not the last time we'll see that. And then there's Virus. Do I even need to say anything? This is probably one of the stupidest movies in the entire franchise, but darn it, it's hilarious. And that's a good movie in my book. Gamera vs. Gyaron? Gamera vs. Gyaron 1969 has the best monster design yet, with a giant knife for a head. We actually get two for the price of one here, thanks to Space Gyaos. Cause you know, if you put space in front of a monster's name, it becomes a totally different monster. But he's dealt with pretty quick, it's not even a contest. This alien planet set looks pretty cool too. This whole movie would feel right at home in a Hartnell era Doctor Who serial. But with an even worse budget if you can believe it. It's a shame that Gyaron is such an awkward monster when it comes to fighting. I mean, this is just a disaster, and it goes on and on. I wish this movie was as wild and absurd as the last, but it's just okay.
Gamera vs. Zigra 1970. I actually haven't seen this one until now. I was told it's not all that watchable, and yeah, it's easily the least entertaining so far. Not like terrible, just forgettable. This movie must have had some sort of deal with the 1970 Expo in Osaka, because a good half of this movie feels like an advertisement for the World Fair. I don't know, it's weird. It gets a lot of screen time. Zigra herself is just okay. She's got some weird powers like magnetic hands and shooting out needles. Her design is very natural and realistic, which keeps her from standing out next to the likes of Virus, Gyaron, and the monster we're seeing next. There is this interesting bit where we actually go inside Gamera to take care of this parasite Zigra left, and that's pretty cool, but yeah, not one of my favorites. Maybe by movie 6, they were just feeling a bit tired. And so, the final movie in the classic Gamera series, technically, Gamera vs. Zigra 1971. This one takes a while to get started. Here we follow an alien woman blending in with the crowd at SeaWorld of all things, as she tries to kill these two boys, and where there's kids, there's Gamera. This whole movie feels themed around water, and it's not just because of SeaWorld, but Zigra as well. He's a wild-looking monster, shark-like mostly, but with all these points and edges coming out of him. He even talks.
All you people on Earth, stop your useless resistance.
Zigra is by far the most interesting part of the movie, and once the novelty of him wears off, there's not much left for this movie to offer. After the release of this movie, Studio Daiei officially declared bankruptcy only 5 months later, and it didn't seem like we'd be getting any more Gamera. Flash forward to 1980, however, and we get a weird exception. Gamera Super Monster, which doesn't really count. In an attempt to get themselves out of bankruptcy, Daiei made this movie, which must have been made of about 90% stock footage. Every monster from previous films makes an appearance, whether it makes sense or not, and we see the whole fight each time. I assumed maybe this movie could be used as a best-of highlight reel in case you can only watch one Gamera film. But the movie's also filled with this strange side plot of 3 superwomen who kind of just cheer on Gamera on the sidelines since they can't interact with the fight at all since it's just stock footage. Although this movie did have the gonads to actually kill Gamera off screen by colliding with a Star Destroyer, so I can't in good conscience recommend this one at all. It's just a weird oddity in Gamera's history. Oh well, there was this one thing. Yeah, classy.
The Showa Gamera series ended there, and Gamera himself took a 15-year-long rest. But when Godzilla seemingly died in Godzilla vs. Desodroya, Gamera decided to come back in a big way. As if by miracle, Gamera returned to us with a revival trilogy, starting in 1995 with Gamera Guardian of the Universe. This is a monster movie reboot in its purest form. The budget goes up, shots and suits become more impressive. Honestly, it's the kind of reboot Godzilla goes through all the time. And I mean, just look at his face. You can tell Gamera is so happy to have his chance in the spotlight, finally. Gyaos also returns, but in a much different form. He looks way more vicious, but is a lot smaller. The trade-off, though, is that now there's a whole swarm of them. This movie goes into Gamera's past and his ties to Atlantis, of all things. Turns out he was some sort of weapon or fighter against the Gyaos in ancient times. And with the Gyaos waking up, so too does Gamera. Once a hero, always a hero. I gotta give extra praise to the soundtrack. It was phenomenal the whole way through. This is easily the best Gamera movie so far, without contest, and an easy pick for your first introduction to Gamera as a whole. If you had to just watch one, make it this one. Gamera 2, Attack of the Legion, followed up immediately, only 1 year later, 1996. It directly continues the story, with references to the Gyaos incident and some returning characters. Legion is one of the wildest monster concepts I have ever seen. Starting off as an army of alien insects cocooning into a giant flower, and then into this. She's massive, dwarfing Gamera, one of the most impressive suit designs in any kaiju movie out there. Yeah, there's a person in that. Most of this movie doesn't even feel like a traditional kaiju flick, more like an alien invasion movie. There's not a whole lot of monster fighting. In fact, there's not a whole lot of Gamera. Most of the movie is analyzing Legion and trying to figure out its biology, which, hey, that's cool, but it can drag. When there is fighting, though, it's awe-inspiring what they were able to do. Bottom line, this one's got some of the most amazing practical effects out of all the Gamera films, but the last film is still the better of the two, I think. At last, in 1999, we got Gamera 3, Revenge of Iris. And it's probably for the best that this movie got a few more years in the oven, because it's fantastic. This feels much more like a direct sequel than Legion did. The Gyaos are back, and in greater numbers. Many characters from the first movie come back, with some acting as main characters again. Gamera, of course, is here too, and he looks sick. This redesign makes him look vicious, which works for this movie's agenda. Basically, it's playing with the idea of how much of a hero really is Gamera. This movie follows a girl whose parents were indirectly killed by Gamera, and so she's actually on a quest for vengeance. What a refreshing sight to see after so many movies of people in love with him. It's actually quite the reverse scenario for Gamera. In the first movie, we had a girl with a psychic connection to Gamera, and now we have this girl who has a connection to a monster named Iris. Iris is a sight to behold.
Less to take in than Legion was, but just so different. We watch it hatch and grow from a baby to a fully grown adult. The tentacles and wings are majestic, almost angelic sounds make Iris out to be totally strange, and not like anything we've ever seen before. And while the CG effects are a little dated, the practical effects once again are incredible. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this might be my favorite Gamera movie. I never would have guessed it. It just felt like such a complete story, and I was engaged the whole way through. But in truth, this entire trilogy is just great. And I'm so happy for Gamera getting such an awesome trilogy of films, despite how the Showa era ended up for him. And well, that leaves us with just one more film left to talk about. The oddball that stands on its own, not a part of a trilogy, no sequels or follow-ups. Just a single Millennium reboot in Gamera the Brave, 2006. This movie went for a much more child-friendly approach, akin to the Showa era of films. But while those movies got by using cheese and silliness, here it's a much more genuine attempt. This is a surprisingly well-done and sophisticated children's movie, and it's tough not to feel warm inside watching it. A new generation of Gamera is born and found by a young boy who gives him the name Toto. They play and get into hijinks, and the boy has to hide the fact that an ever-growing in size flying turtle lives in his room. But underneath all of that is a somber tale of a boy who lost his mother and gaining a new friend. You'd think there wouldn't be any room for any giant monster fighting in a movie like this, but no, this movie somehow fits that in too, and it works. Zadis is our monster of the day, and he actually looks quite great. I love the frill he shows off, and his long spiked tongue. Toto, all grown up, looks adorable, and that could be either seen as a good or a bad thing, depending on who you ask. It's a shame he never uses the famous Gamera roar and instead uses this stock dinosaur sound effect, which admittedly could get a little distracting. This is a lovely little monster film. It has an outrageous amount of heart, and if this truly is the final Gamera film, it's not a bad one to end off on. And that's everything. The entire franchise wrapped up in one fell swoop. Will we ever see Gamera again? I truly don't know. But I remain hopeful for the big lug. As he's been trying his best for so many years, he deserves another chance to be truly done right. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this big overview of the franchise. Great to get something out to you guys at last. And yeah, I will see you all next video.